All right, let's dig into something super interesting today. You sent in a ton of articles about mindful eating,
Uh-huh.
so we're diving deep into that. You're obviously ready to change things up in how you approach food, how you think about food.
Yeah.
It seems like from the titles I'm seeing here, you want to find something that's like beyond just a diet, something that helps you find more peace with food and even enjoyment with your meals. Is
Yeah.
that what we're going for here?
Yeah, I think so. And what's really cool is that there's a lot of research coming out about mindful eating. Like, it's a big area of study now, which is really neat. And there are a lot of interesting findings.
I love that. You know me, I'm all about the evidence.
Yes.
So, where do we even begin? For someone who is totally new to this whole thing, how would we even define mindful eating?
Yeah. So it's not so much about like a set of rules that you have to follow, but it's more about shifting your mindset around food.
Mm.
So approaching food with more awareness and really tuning into things like your senses, your body's own hunger cues, and even how you're feeling emotionally when you're eating.
Okay, so it's like the opposite of like scarfing down a sandwich while I'm also like responding to email.
Exactly.
Got it. But I'm noticing in these articles some connections to some pretty ancient practices. It's not like brand new, this idea of mindfulness, this mindful eating idea. Isn't it kind of linked to Buddhist traditions?
It is, yeah. So mindful eating has roots in Buddhism and other contemplative traditions that really emphasize being present in the moment, being aware. And so it was a way of like more deeply connecting with yourself and what was around you.
Wow. Okay, so not a fad diet. This has been around for a while. But why does this matter for someone like, listening right now in today's world? And I'm seeing some of these articles mention distraction, negative body image this is, like the world we live in.
Yeah, exactly. And you bring up a really important point because our modern world is like set up perfectly for mindless eating, honestly. We're constantly distracted. We're on the go. There's this pressure to look a certain way and eat a certain way. So it's no wonder a lot of people have a tough relationship with food.
Ugh, tell me about it. It's like enjoy this Instagrammable salad, but God forbid you eat that extra piece of pizza. Like it's really hard
It is. It's a lot of pressure.
to have a healthy mindset around it.
It is, yeah. So that's really, I think, where mindful eating can be really helpful. It's about unwinding those unhealthy patterns and kind of creating a more healthy and sustainable way to approach food. And it's not just like a feel-good thing. There's actual science behind it, which is really cool.
Okay, see, now you're speaking my language. I do see a couple of articles in here about like brain changes and stress reduction.
Yeah.
So tell me there's actual substance to this.
There is. It's not just hype. There's some fascinating research on how mindful eating affects our brains.
Well,
So, for instance, it actually stimulates an area of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which think of it like the brain's control center for decision making, for impulse control.
so is that why I can like down a bag of chips and not even realize I'm doing it? Because my prefrontal cortex is just like asleep at the wheel.
Pretty much, yeah. And so the amazing thing is that when you practice mindful eating, you're actually strengthening that part of your brain, like you're giving it a workout. And over time, it actually becomes easier to resist those kind of mindless urges to snack or eat when you're not hungry.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying I can rewire my brain like to crave carrots instead of cookies? Because now you've got my attention.
You can. That's the amazing thing about our brains,
Yeah.
is this idea of neuroplasticity,
Yeah.
which basically means our brains are constantly changing and adapting based on our experiences. So we practice mindful eating, we're kind of rewiring those pathways, and self-regulation gets kind of easier and more natural over time.
Neuroplasticity. Sounds very complicated, but I like it.
All right.
But let's talk about stress because that is a huge trigger for me when it comes to food. And I do see some mentions of cortisol in these articles. Is that the connection to like stress eating?
It is. Yeah, cortisol is our stress hormone. And so when we are stressed, our bodies pump out cortisol, and that can actually increase our cravings. But the really cool thing is that research shows that mindful eating can help lower our cortisol levels. So it's like we're short-circuiting that whole cycle of stress and then eating in response to the stress.
Okay, less stress, more brain power. I am on board with all of this. But like, how do I actually do mindful eating? I see these articles talking about engaging your senses, which sounds great. But is it more than just like smelling my food before I eat it?
Yeah, it's about bringing that awareness to like every aspect of the eating experience. So not just smell, but also like what does it look like? What does it taste like? The texture, you're basically turning your meal into this like sensory adventure.
Okay, so instead of just like shoving popcorn in my face while I'm watching a movie,
Yeah.
I'm actually like pasting each kernel, noticing the crunch, the saltiness.
Exactly. Yes. And it's just the start,
Yeah.
you actually sent over a few articles that mentioned this classic mindful eating exercise, which is called the raisin exercise. And
Yeah.
it sounds kind of funny, like surprisingly simple, but it's really powerful for shifting your awareness.
Okay, now I need to know more. What is the raisin exercise? And full disclosure, I'm way more of a chocolate person, but I'm here to learn.
Okay, well, just imagine this. You're holding a single raisin in your hand, but before you pop it in your mouth, you actually take a moment to just like observe it, really look at it, the wrinkles, the color, how it feels in your
I
hand.
already feel more present, and we're just talking about a raisin.
Right. And then you're going to bring it up to your nose and you're going to smell it.
Okay.
And we miss so many of these details when we just like rush through our meals. But okay, so we're smelling this raisin. And then finally, we're going to take a bite. But instead of just chewing it up and swallowing it, we're going to really let it linger in our mouth and pay attention to like how the flavor changes as we chew, like the sweetness, the texture.
I gotta be honest, I've never thought this much about a raisin in my life.
Right.
I can see how that would really be a game changer. It's like retraining your brain to actually like fully experience your food.
Exactly. And a really great kind of side benefit of that is that by focusing on those sensory details, it can naturally help with portion control. So when you are present with each bite, you're more likely to notice your body's cues that it's full and you're satisfied and you don't need to eat anymore.
That makes so much sense because like if you're not paying attention, your body's like, "Hey, I'm good down here. Hello."
Exactly. Doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah, this whole sensory focus thing, I can get behind this. So we're engaging our senses, making each bite more enjoyable. But there's also this mention of gratitude in these articles that you sent over. So how does gratitude play into this whole mindful eating thing?
Gratitude is so powerful. And especially with food, it can really like transform the whole experience because instead of viewing food as something to like feel guilty about, you start to really appreciate it for what it is, like nourishment and something to be thankful for.
I love that. And honestly, I mean, I do feel grateful for like the access I have to food, but I think I forget to acknowledge that in the moment a lot. Like it's easy to take that for granted.
Totally. It's so easy with our busy lives to not even think about it. But studies show that even these like really small acts of gratitude can make a really big difference. So like it's been linked to more enjoyment and satisfaction with meals. And kind of like a side effect of that often is that it leads to healthier choices overall because you're just kind of in this more positive headspace.
So more joy, less guilt, like sign me up. Are there any like tips in these articles that you sent for how to actually bring more gratitude to our meals? Because I'm all about the action steps. Like, how do we make this happen?
Yeah. There are some great ones. One that's really simple but powerful is called the gratitude pause. And so it's basically taking a moment to pause before you start eating
Hmm.
and just reflect. So maybe you think about where your food came from, all the people who were involved in getting it to your plate, or even just the fact that like you have food to eat, which is something to be grateful for.
Yeah, like a little mini meditation before your meal. I like it. I
Exactly.
can see how shifting your mindset in that way could make a big
It
difference.
can. It's really powerful, even if it's brief. It doesn't have to be this big, elaborate thing. Even just a simple thank you to the universe, to yourself for making the meal, to the farmers who grew your food. I don't know, it can really shift us into that place of appreciation.
This is really resonating with me. But what about those times when we're not feeling grateful for food? Let's talk about like the elephant in the room, emotional eating. I think we've all been there.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's a thing.
It's so common. And I think it's really important to approach it from a place of self-compassion, not judgment, because it happens.
Yeah.
So, mindful eating, it doesn't magically make those emotional triggers disappear, but it can give you the tools to kind of work with them and navigate them in a more healthy way.
So it's like instead of just like reaching for that pint of ice cream when I'm feeling stressed or down, it's about hitting the pause button first and
Exactly.
asking yourself, like, okay, what am I really hungry for in this moment?
Am I actually physically hungry or am I trying to like soothe something else with food?
Such a good question to ask yourself. I feel like those articles you sent must have some advice for dealing with those emotional eating triggers because I'm all ears. I need all the help I can get with that.
Yeah, there are some great tips. And one of like the most helpful things is keeping what's called a food and feelings journal.
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of maybe a little hokey, but it can be really eye-opening. And so basically you're tracking like what you eat, but you're also noting your emotional state when you're eating. So, are you stressed, bored, lonely, happy. And over time, you start to see these patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, that's what's going on.
So smart. It's like you're getting all this data about yourself that you wouldn't have otherwise. So instead of just feeling bad after an emotional eating episode, you're like, okay, I have information now.
Exactly.
Now I know myself better.
It's all about the self-awareness.
Yeah.
And then with that self-awareness, you can start to develop these healthier coping mechanisms for dealing with those emotions instead of using food to deal with them.
This is really where this goes beyond just what we're putting in our mouths, right? This is like self-care, like being kinder to ourselves, more compassionate with ourselves.
Yes, exactly. And self-compassion is key. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay. We're all human. We all have our struggle.
Totally.
It's going to happen.
This is all making so much sense, but I have a confession. Like, when I hear mindful eating, a part of me is like, ugh, so now I have to meditate over every single lentil for the rest of my life? Like, is this even realistic, especially with, our busy, crazy lives?
Yeah, no, I hear that. That's definitely a common misconception. It's not about being perfect.
Yeah.
Mindful eating is not about like turning every meal into a meditation retreat. It's really about figuring out what works for you in your life.
Okay, good. Because some days, like, I'm lucky if I even remember to eat lunch, let alone create some sort of like Zen garden on my plate.
Right, exactly. And that is where I think those tips for mindful eating on the go can be really helpful. And I'm actually seeing a lot of those in these articles that you sent.
Perfect. So for those of us who are like short on time, what are some of the like top tips for bringing more mindfulness to our meals, even when we're in a rush?
Yes. Okay, well, first of all, meal prepping is like your new best friend.
Hi.
Having those healthy snacks and meals already prepped and ready to go can really help you avoid those kind of like hangry moments where you make those impulsive decisions because you're starving.
Totally. Like,
Yeah.
I'm much more likely to eat the pre-chopped veggies in my bag than like hit the vending machine when I'm like really hungry.
Exactly. And even if you don't have like a full meal prep, thinking about like snacks that are both convenient but also nutritious, so things like nuts, seeds, fruit, yogurt, just those little things that you can have on hand so that you're not getting to that point where your blood sugar crashes and then you're like, give me all the candy.
Yeah. So prepping is key, but what about those times when like you're stuck with limited options? Maybe it's like a rush lunch break at work or you're traveling. Any advice for those situations?
Yeah. Even if you only have like 5 minutes, you can still create that little like mini mindful eating moment. So step away from your desk, silence your phone, take a few deep breaths, and just really focus on the food that's in front of you. It's just about creating that little pocket of awareness, even if it's really short, in the middle of the chaos.
Yes. Those mini breaks make such a difference. It's like hitting the reset button on like your brain and your digestion.
Exactly.
Like everything.
And even just that quick sensory check-in
Mm.
for a few seconds, like, what does this look like? What does this smell like? Those little things can make a difference.
This reminds me that like it doesn't have to be this big formal thing, right? It can be as simple as like choosing to actually savor a piece of fruit instead of just like eating it while I'm also doing 5 other things.
Exactly. And, if you are someone who loves tech, there are even apps that can help with this. Like some of them have reminders like, hey, take a mindful break, or they have guided meditations specifically for eating. So it's about like finding what works for you and fitting it into your life.
I love that there's an app for that. But what about families? I imagine it could be tricky to like encourage this with kids,
Yeah.
especially if you've got picky eaters or just a busy family schedule. Any advice on how to make this like a family affair?
Yeah, for sure. Family meals are
Mm.
such a good opportunity to bond and build healthy habits. They say the family that eats together savors together.
I love that.
I don't know if that's a real saying, but
No.
it is now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think like making mealtime an event
Right.
as often as you can. When your schedules allow it, put the phones away, turn off the TV, and just really be present with each other.
Creating that tech-free zone is so key. It's like actually giving your family the gift of your attention, which
It
is
is. Yeah, it's so important.
such a beautiful thing.
And also, getting kids involved in meal prep is huge because it gets them curious about food and they feel more invested in what they're eating.
Oh, I love that. From picky eaters to like little chefs in the making.
Exactly.
That's the dream.
Yeah, and even small things like letting them help set the table or wash the veggies or pick out like what kind of fruit they want for dessert. All of those little things add up.
I am so on board with all of this. It's amazing how these like small shifts can have such a ripple effect on our relationship with food and with our families and even ourselves. But I think it's about time for us to start wrapping things up here. So,
Yeah.
what final takeaway would you love to leave our listeners with today?
I would say you've learned so much about mindful eating, but the most important thing is just to start small and be kind to yourself. This isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress, not being perfect.
Yes. Progress over perfection, a motto to live by for sure.
Right. And who knows, that one mindful meal that you have today could be the start of this whole new wave approaching food that could bring you more health and more happiness.
I love that. You've given us so much to think about and more importantly, like to actually do. A huge thank you to our amazing expert and to you, our wonderful listeners, for sharing your curiosity and this fantastic collection of articles. Until next time, happy mindful eating.